Good evening. It is 6 p.m. and we are back from recess for a public hearing on the 2024 through 2025 biennium budget. And this is an open public testimony. So I will pass it back to Nicole Martinez, our budget and fiscal manager.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Commissioners. This is our last public hearing for the 2024-2025 biennium. I'm going to do a brief budget overview of the biennium. The preliminary budget for 24-25, the combined operating and capital budget for 2024 includes expenses in 2024 of $555.9 million with revenues at $442.9 million. The 2025 expenditure level is at $512.4 million with the revenues at $426.9 million. The operating expenses for all funds is at $471.8 million in 2024 and $455 million or $0.6 million in 2025, with our largest in Health and Human Services and Law and Justice. The operating revenues for all funds are at $408.3 million in 2024 and $412.5 million in 2025, with the largest source of revenues across all funds in taxes at 46% and at 30% in charges for services. Our operating expenses in the general fund are budgeted for 2024 at $132.9 million and in 2025 at $133.4 million. The largest portion in the general fund is from Law and Justice at 73%, and the next is at governmental services at 11%, general government. Our general fund operating revenues are $123.3 million in 2024 and $119.9 million in 2025, with the majority of our revenues for the general fund coming from taxes, that's property and sales tax, at 69%. Our capital expenditures for 2024 are at $84 million and 2025 at $63.5 million. It's a total of $140.8 million capital budget with expenses between economic vitality and internal services. So that's Public Works and Central Services. They man our capital budget. The revenues recognized within the capital budget are $34.6 million in 2024 and $14.4 million in 2025. And some highlights for our preliminary budget. We see a 5% COLA increase for deputies, corrections, and captains, and a 3.5% COLA increase for all remaining staff, as well as investments in law and justice with the passing of the public safety sales tax. There's also investments in public health and also in the Healthy Lakes and attention to election security. Also, there is a purchasing and staffing of the 8th Medic Unit and funding for construction for pre-design for stormwater, water, sewer, and transportation projects, consolidation of the sewer and water utilities, also pilot programs such as the Thurston County Court Alternative Program. There's also a federal lobbyist to assist with grant opportunities for the county. The budget also includes a road levy shift of an increase of $2.4 million to balance the general fund and a general fund reductions of $4.5 million. Over the past 2 days, we've been through a number of our offices and departments and some of the policy level requests. So I'm just gonna, here listed as every policy level request that's for those departments, but I'm just gonna touch on a few of those just to refresh our memory. So underneath the law and justice category, we have the clerk's office. Some of the policy level requests were extension of the Blake decision positions as well as the court backlog. Underneath the coroner, there was an increase in autopsy and extra help for their budget. Also district court, they had a number of positions within TST, mental health court assistant 1, administrative assistant, and also some equipment funding and training for professional services within TST, and also the substance abuse monitoring program and a general fund reduction. Inside Law and Justice, for the juvenile court, we have funding for TST for Heart Strides program. Also, we have a general fund reduction. In Superior Court, we have extension of Blake decisions as well as court backlog and also a general fund reduction. In pretrial services, there are 2 requests, administrative assistant 2 and also a hub operations assistant. Inside the prosecuting attorney, there is a community program manager, also a victim advocate program coordinator, and there is also extension for the Blake decision and court backlog and a general fund reduction. Continuing with law and justice, we have public defense. Some of the requests located within the 24 and 25 biennium include expanding the Thurston County Indigent Investigator Services, Public Service Social Worker Program extension, and also extending the Blake decision positions in the court backlog, and there's also a general fund reduction. Inside the sheriff's corrections budget, there is an increase for food service contract and also a shift of detention facility sales tax expenditures to the general fund. For law enforcement, some of the policy requests here are addition of overtime cost, also public safety sales tax position phase-in, and there's also a general fund reduction. Within the public defense, sheriff, law enforcement, and prosecuting attorney, tomorrow we will be having final deliberations, and we will look into these budgets and be able to make adjustments on the general fund reductions in accordance with the passing of the public safety sales tax.
And what does that mean, Nicole?
That means based on the resolution that was passed for the public safety sales tax, there's a maintenance of effort in which we can't supplant. And so the budget was built underneath the umbrella, not knowing if the public safety sales would pass. And so we built in reductions in those funds or in those departments. And those reductions we're going to have to look at again and make adjustments during the deliberations to back those out and make sure that we are in accordance with the resolution for passing of the public safety sales tax. Thank you. Okay, so then the general government, they are at the assessor's department. So some of the level requests here are property control analyst and also a reactivation of a classification for a chief appraiser and also a general fund reduction. The auditor, some of the policy level requests there were attention to election security, also for elections equipment, and also for moving funding in to help with the presidential election. Also, there was grant information or grant funding for student engagement hubs. The treasurer had an adjustment in their FTE account allocation. Central Services requested a facilities control specialist, and inside the Human Resources Department, there were requests for a human resource specialist, a risk analyst, and adjustments to the risk fund associated with the expenditure authority to pay off our risk or our claims. In information technology, the requests were for the Axon Justice Premier Enterprise Digital Evidence Management System and support for PAO and for public defense, and also an update to our ERP contract extending some of our positions to help with implementing that software. In the commissioner's budget, underneath the legislative category, some of the change requests within there is a budget senior management analyst, 2 FTE for a public information specialist, establishing of the Thurston County Court Alternative Program, also some project carry forward for the Historic Commission, and a general fund reduction as well. In non-departmental, the policy level request, some of those are stipends for the advisory board. We discontinued the TC Media contract. The road levy shift is included in that, as well as the cost of living adjustments and a general fund reduction. In community planning and economic development, for Washington State University, there was a salary increase as well as reinstatement of the fair and event coordinator. Also, attention to the flood hazard mitigation plan, a Summit Lake land transfer, and also attention to the growth management plan as an updating that. For public works, there was attention to the lake management districts, adjusting their budgets, transferring that activity from public works to public health, as well as indirect costs for general fund. There was attention to storm utility, to some of the positions, such as a storm utility construction inspector, community litter cleanup program staff, a procurement and contract specialist, traffic operations supervisors, also a civil engineer for the public works pavement preservation program. The water and sewer consolidation is included in the biennium as well as operating transfers associated with different capital projects. In public health and social services included within the biennium are Healthy Lakes Comprehensive Study, Foundation Public Health Service allocations, nurse and family partnership positions, such as medical social worker or community health worker, as well as developmental disabilities community grants are located within public health's budget. Emergency services included certain requests such as Medic 1 equipment, Medic 1 8th unit, and staffing. Also grant placeholders for the 2023 Homeland Security Grant and the 2024 Emergency Management Preparedness Grant, and a general fund reduction. So that was all of the requests that we went through for the past 2 days in the biennium. At the time that this slide was put together, there weren't any written comments, but we did receive one written comment. Other than that, I don't have anything to add at this portion.
And the written comment was?
You have to say the details of the written comment? How do you? I'm sorry, this is my first time doing written comments, so I'm not sure exactly what to state.
So we can look that up. We'll ensure that the board receives the comments.
It's an email.
It's an email that was distributed by the clerk of the board in terms of the cuts towards district court. So all
That's right.
commissioners should have that in their inbox for you to review.
Thank
And
you.
we can
We can bring that tomorrow.
and have a
We do the
discussion on
review.
it a little bit more.
Did we
Okay,
read it
thank
in
you.
the record as part of the meeting, or do you?
No, they didn't request that if they request that then. I would,
Okay.
but there was no request to read it on the record. It was just, they asked for commissioners to receive it.
Right.
So,
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Don't have anything else to add.
thank you so much, Nicole. Okay, any questions for Nicole?
Not at this time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will go ahead and open it up to public comment. And you will have 4 minutes. Please introduce yourself and the address you reside in. And Heidi Thompson.
Good evening, Commissioners. Most of you know me. My name is Heidi Thompson. I'm not here in my official capacity. I am here as a lifelong county resident and Thurston County Fair Board member. I've been associated with the fair since 1981 in various capacities, including 4-H member, 4-H leader, fair superintendent, fair employee, and 27-year fair board member. First off, I want to thank you for funding a leadership position for the fair. This position is crucial for moving the fairgrounds and the fair event forward. As you may know, in recent years, operational guidance for the fair was achieved through a limited term contract for services, and then recently through a temporary employee who was limited to working 10 hours a week. While individuals involved in leading the fair operations have done a great job considering the limitations that they've had to operate under, this amount of resources is not adequate to grow the fair. The expectation for the fair and fairgrounds is that it's an enterprise operation, meaning that costs that are funded by the revenue that is generated. This goal cannot be achieved through an employee working 10 hours a week. It also cannot be achieved by the 16-member volunteer fair board. It is essential to have a full-time county employee dedicated to engaging the community and generating support with energy and vision to make the fair event the place to be and the fairgrounds the place to go for the community to attend events. We must have a person with soft skills that can engage community members to support and partner with the fair. So again, I thank you for deciding to invest in the fair, particularly during this difficult budget cycle. I understand that there's a requirement that the employee chosen for the position must generate 75% of the cost of his or her position within the first year. This equates to $90,000. I fully support this and think this performance measure is a great idea. However, my request to the commissioners is that we ensure that the time frame is doable. For example, we are having difficulties filling positions, so if the position is filled, say, in May, the person is given 12 to 18 months from the date of hire to generate the $90,000 in new revenue. There is a good amount of onboarding required to work at the county in a leadership role, particularly if the person has limited experience in the fair operations. In short, we want to ensure the individual is set up for success. If this venture turns out to be a success, I suggest that the revenue target is increased in future biennia. We have significant maintenance and operation needs at the fairgrounds, and additional revenue can help address these issues. Thank you for your time and support. I'm happy to answer if there's any questions.
Very good, thank you.
Thank you, Heidi. Thank you for your service in the Fair Board. Yeah. Okay, Teresa Reed.
Hi, excuse me. My name's Teresa Reed, and I am a lifelong resident of Thurston County. Sorry, I'm a little nervous up here, so. I would like to talk to you today about the fair position. The fair has been part of my life since the late 70s. And currently, I am the fair coordinator, working 10 hours a week to work on the fairgrounds and the fair event. The fair manager position needs to be full-time. It needs to be able to build relationships with sponsors for the fair event, which can take 1 to 2 to 3 years to get to know a business and show them what the fair can bring to them. Also, the fair can be really dependent on weather. So by making somebody responsible for 90% of their pay over a 12 to 18 month period, if one year the fair week is over 100 degrees and the news is telling people not to go outside, they usually don't come outside to the fair. We've felt those effects in attendance. Working on rentals at the fairgrounds, other than the fair event, we had some pretty good rentals going on prior to the pandemic. A lot of those festivals closed through the pandemic because they weren't able to be held. So at this time, we do need to find multi-day fairs or festivals that are looking for an event place to be held. And if they hold them annually, that gives us some more rental as it goes. So there's a lot of stuff to running the fair and the fair event. You have to understand numbers, you have to know people, you have to know some about animals, and I learn something new every year. You have to be able to work with vendors and make contracts and make a lot of time getting to know people that perhaps don't come out in dollar signs. And building those relationships can take an extended period of time. So I would just ask that when considering the fair manager position, that you look at perhaps tiered increases in the percentage. Right now, a 20% increase in fair revenue isn't going to be something that can be done in a year. It's more than double digits. And if there is that much out there, we will take advantage of it right away. But I think it needs to be built over time. And just letting you know from experience, the fair needs somebody full-time and consistent who will be there to provide the leadership and hopefully make our fair stronger for many years to come. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Okay.
Thank you. Next is John Pett.
Good evening, commissioners. My name is John Pettit. I'm from Rich Road Southeast. In the unincorporated county, the part that's most forgotten by the commissioners. I was totally shocked. I wrote up a little thing about some of my suggestions for your budgets. I'm suggesting both the new commissioners not be involved in this vote for the budget. But I was totally shocked when I saw that what used to be a barrier to me about the idea of making road levy shifts, it went into hyper mode. It's never been anything like this. $4.7 million. I guess we don't actually need to repair the roads in the unincorporated county. No commissioner is entitled to a vote if you remove the money from the public works to do the work. We know we have another $1.5 million in a diversion, $6.2 million out of our road funds in order to play games with the general fund budget. You might as well, I pity a poor commissioner that's over in the 4th district, which is almost all county roads, that has to face election in a year, and everyone's going to know that he was involved with the process that took away their road maintenance. This is the most pathetic thing. Commissioner Menzer previously obligated, we're going to reduce that amount that we take away every year. We're going to reduce it. Now, admittedly, I saw online as I was watching some of the early budget parts, the sob story, oh, it's terrible, it's awful. We need to take money from wherever we can. Every year we hear the same stories. This year you suckered into it. Now, here just yesterday, oh, we have money, so much money here, we've got to be spending it down. Let's start by spending it down by not taking $4.7 million in levy shift, not taking 1.5 million in diversion. The diversion's working with the sheriff for road safety. I'm okay with that. Don't like it, but I'm okay with that. But the blatant taking of revenue from all of the unincorporated, you don't care about the unincorporated maybe. Nobody hates the unincorporated more than apparently the current county commissioners. It's shameful. If you can't do the job and respect everybody in the community, you shouldn't even be up here. This is pathetic. Now, I made some other suggestions, which I already distributed to you, but I think you need to come forward and you need to stand up and say, yes, I don't want the county out there to be able to have decent roads. We don't care. We're collecting your taxes. How are you expecting good public servants that run a department efficiently to do their work if you're going to take away the money? It's just, it's the biggest farce I've ever seen. And I know how it all occurs because we start with a bunch of lies about how desperate we are, and then we end up with how wonderful we are. It all needs to change. And it's going to start right there with you deciding. Even Commissioner Mahee will be running for office this next year. She'll be able to explain why she would choose to do such a thing. I'm encouraging all of you, reverse your direction. Don't worry about the ending fund balance as much as you should worry about the people that voted you in. Thank you.
That's all who I have in my sign-up sheet. Would anyone else like to provide public comment? Okay. Any questions for Nicole?
No, I don't, but I don't know if the gentleman that just walked in, is he interested in, did he hear you? No, just, okay.
Any questions or comments? Okay, thank you, Nicole. So anything you'd like to address before we close out?
Chair, I'd just like to say thank you to all the offices and departments and the budget staff for helping with putting together the budget. It's been a long road, but it's been difficult, and we've all pulled together and been able to put together a very solid budget. And I just want to thank the commissioners for their time as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, it is 6:23. We are adjourned with our public hearings. We are picking up tomorrow at 9:15 with our budget deliberations. Thank you.